The massive war chamber of the Deathworld Alliance hummed with the sound of breathing that would terrify most civilized species in the galaxy. Commander Rexus stood 12 feet tall with his crystalline shell reflecting the harsh blue lights above him while his three eyes scanned the holographic star map floating in the center of the room. The Korthok had evolved on a world where plasma storms raged for months, and only the strongest survived with armor that could deflect energy weapons beside him. General Vorak of the Vorthani shifted his bulk, and the metal floor plates hissed as drops of his acidic blood ate through them. His people came from swamp worlds, where the very air dissolved flesh, and their blood had become their greatest weapon, killing enemies just by bleeding on them. The massive creature's forearms crossed as he studied the intelligence reports about their latest discovery. Eating through metal, look at their world. Rexes, they have liquid water everywhere and breathable air without filters. War Chief Brutus of the Grimmick laughed, a sound like grinding stone. His gray skin was scarred from countless battles on worlds where the vacuum of space was a relief compared to the surface conditions, and thought nothing of fighting battles on airless moons under radiation that would cook other species alive. I have seen the reports on this Earth's place, Brutus said while checking his weapons. They have something they call weather, which seems to mean their climate changes in predictable patterns. How soft they must be to consider minor atmospheric variations worth. Naming the intelligence data floating before them showed a blue and green world that looked like a paradise compared to the hellish planets that had forged the Alliance species. Temperatures that stayed within a narrow range that supported liquid water, atmospheric composition that required no breathing apparatus, an ecosystem that seemed almost designed for comfortable living. Admiral Thorik of the Vorthani fleet pulled up more detailed scans. See how they build their cities. Rexus, no defensive barriers against radiation, no underground bunkers to hide from surface predators. They live right out in the open like they have no natural enemies. Commander Rexus nodded his massive head while his claws clicked against his shell. The Alliance had been formed 300 years ago when the three most dangerous species in known space realized they shared a common problem. The galaxy was full of soft, civilized races that lived on garden worlds and had grown weak from easy living. These pampered species controlled the most fertile systems, while the true warriors were stuck fighting over the scraps in the outer rim. The hegemony empire grows stronger every cycle, Rexus said to his war council. Their fleets push deeper into our territory and their numbers are too great for us to match. They may be weak individually, but they breed fast and build ships faster than we can destroy them. The hegemony was everything the Alliance despised, a collection of garden world species that had never known true hardship. They fought their wars with drones and automated systems, keeping their precious citizens safe in climate-controlled ships. Their soldiers wore powered armor because their natural bodies were too fragile for real combat. We need more troops, General Vorak admitted while his acidic saliva dripped onto the floor. Our warriors are superior, but we cannot be everywhere at once. The hegemony sends 10 ships for every one of ours. War Chief Brutus studied the human data with growing interest. These humans might be exactly what we need. Look at their population numbers, billions of them on just one world. They breed like the other garden species, but they seem more organized than most the humans had appeared. On the galactic stage, only recently, their primitive radio signals had been detected. Just decades ago, and their first attempts at faster-than-light travel were clumsy and dangerous by civilized standards. But they had numbers, and they seemed eager to expand beyond their single-world system. Intelligence reports say they are aggressive towards their own species. Admiral Thorik added, they fight wars among themselves constantly, which suggests they might have some combat experience even if their world is soft. Commander Rexus examined the human physical specifications with something approaching amusement. They stood roughly 6 feet tall, much smaller than any Alliance species. Their skin had no natural armor, and their bodies seemed designed for their comfortable world rather than real combat. They had only 2 arms, 2 legs, and their sensory organs were limited to a narrow spectrum. Perfect cannon fodder. Rexus decided we offer them protection in a small sector of space. In exchange for military service, they provide the numbers we need, and when they die in large quantities, we can blame it on their inexperience. The plan was elegant in its simplicity, the Alliance would contact these humans and offer them membership. In their organization, the humans would be desperate to join, having just discovered they were not alone in a dangerous galaxy. The Alliance would train them just enough to hold weapons and point them in the right direction, then use them to absorb casualties while the real warriors did the important work. Send the invitation, Commander Rexus ordered. Tell them we recognize their potential and want them to join our glorious alliance against the forces of oppression. 3 weeks later, the human delegation arrived aboard a ship they had named Endurance, which seemed fitting for a species about to endure a great deal of suffering. The vessel was primitive by Alliance standards, with thick armor plating and redundant systems that suggested its builders expected things to go wrong. Regularly, Captain Tom Reed led the human diplomatic team, and Rexus was struck by how ordinary he appeared. The human wore a simple uniform with no ceremonial armor or weapons displays. He smiled frequently, which the Alliance interpreted as a sign of weakness, since only prey species smiled at predators. We are honored by your invitation, Commander Rexus, Captain Reed said in Galactic Standard that was heavily accented but understandable. Humanity has long dreamed of joining the galactic community and fighting alongside legendary warriors such as yourselves. The human delegation toured the Alliance station with what seemed like genuine curiosity. They asked questions about Alliance military tactics, weapons, technology, and the various worlds where battles were fought. They seemed particularly interested in the environmental conditions that Alliance species considered normal. Your people are remarkably adaptable, General Vorak observed when the humans showed no discomfort in the station's harsh. Captain Reed smiled again. Humans are pretty tough. We have to be. Where we come from? War Chief Brutus found this amusing since the intelligence reports clearly showed Earth as one of the most comfortable worlds ever discovered. Your planet seems quite pleasant from our scans, Captain. Stable weather, liquid water. Abundant food sources? Oh yes, sir. We are very fortunate, Reed agreed, though we do have our challenges. Weather can be unpredictable, and we share our world with some interesting wildlife. The Alliance officers exchanged glances that clearly said, these humans had no idea what real challenges meant. They were about to learn the hard way what it meant to fight real battles on real. Deathworld's treaty signing was a grand ceremony with all 3 Alliance species present to witness there. Newest members joined their ranks. The humans signed eagerly, asking only for reasonable terms, and showing none of the suspicious negotiating that marked truly dangerous species. Captain Reed thanked them repeatedly for the opportunity to prove human. Worth your first assignment will be Kellos 7, Commander Rexus announced. A simple operation to test your capabilities. The hegemony has established a forward base there, and we need it eliminated. Captain Reed nodded seriously. We won't let you down, sir. How many troops should we bring? As many as you can spare, Rexus replied, knowing full well he was sending them to die. Had acquired expendable soldiers, and the humans had received the honor of dying for a worthy cause. Soon the first human battle groups would arrive, and the real war against the hegemony could begin in earnest. What the Alliance commanders failed to notice was the way Captain Reed had smiled when they described Kellos 7 as a challenging environment, or how the other humans had exchanged glances when told about the planet's hostile conditions. They were too busy congratulating themselves on their clever recruitment to pay attention to the details that would soon prove fatal to their assumptions about their new allies. 3 weeks after the treaty signing, the first human battle group arrived at the staging area near us, Kellos 7 aboard transport ships that looked like flying fortresses. General Bass commanded the human forces, and when he met with the Alliance commanders, casual demeanor struck them as either very brave or very stupid. We appreciate the opportunity to prove ourselves. General Bass told Commander Rexus during the mission briefing, my troops are eager to see some action after the long journey. Commander Rexus studied the human general with his 3 eyes, noting how the smaller being showed no signs of intimidation despite being surrounded by creatures that could kill him with a casual swipe. The Korthok commander felt a moment of doubt but pushed it aside as he explained the battle plan. Kellos 7 is a fortress world, Rexus began, while the holographic display showed a planet covered in volcanic mountains and acidic clouds. The atmosphere will eat through standard armor. In ours, the gravity is twice galactic standard, and the surface temperature reaches levels that melt most metals. General Bass nodded thoughtfully. Sounds like a Tuesday back home, sir. What kind of enemy numbers are we looking at? War Chief Brutus leaned forward with interest. Tuesday? Just an expression, sir. Bass replied with that unsettling human smile. We have a saying that some days are harder than others. The Alliance officers exchanged glances, wondering what kind of world produced beings that compared hellish battle conditions to routine weekdays. Admiral Thoric pulled up the tactical data showing enemy positions and defensive structures that had been built into the volcanic landscape. The hegemony has approximately 10,000 troops in hardened bunkers. Thoric explained they have energy shields powered by geothermal taps and automated defense systems. We estimate 70% casualties in the first wave. General Bass studied the tactical display with professional interest. My people can work with those odds. What kind of support will we have? Support, General? Vorak asked in confusion. You are the support? Human forces will advance first to test enemy defenses while Alliance troops position for the main assault. Understood, Sir. Bass said, without any change in his cheerful expression. We will take the objective and hold it for your arrival. Commander Rexus felt another moment of unease at the humans' confidence, but attributed it to ignorance. The humans would learn quickly enough what real warfare meant when they faced conditions that killed even Alliance species. The assault began at dawn on Kellos the 7th. As human dropships descended through the acidic atmosphere toward the volcanic surface, Alliance commanders watched from orbit, expecting to see their new auxiliaries die in large numbers while providing useful intelligence about enemy capabilities. Private Alex hit the ground running as his squad deployed from their dropship into the sulfurous air that should have killed them within minutes instead of collapsing from the toxic environment. The humans spread out in tactical formations and began advancing toward enemy positions with movements that looked almost practiced. Why are they not using environmental suits, Admiral? Thoric asked as he watched the tactical display. The atmosphere is lethal, Corporal. Dana led her fire team through terrain that resembled the inside of an active volcano, using the rocky outcroppings for cover, while volcanic vents spewed gases that would have been fatal to most species. She moved like someone who had trained in similar conditions her entire life, sir. The humans appear to be breathing the atmosphere directly, reported the Alliance. Tactical officer sensors show no environmental protection systems active. War Chief Brutus watched in growing amazement as human soldiers not only survived on the hellish SH surface, but seemed to be thriving in conditions that would challenge even his own people. The humans moved with purpose and coordination that suggested extensive experience in hostile environments. Sergeant Roy discovered that the volcanic vents could be used as concealed movement routes and led his squad through passages that should have cooked them alive in their armor. The humans emerged behind enemy lines, completely undetected, and began setting up positions for the main assault. How are they moving through the thermal vents? General Vorak demanded the temperature. Readings show levels that would vaporize organic matter. The human advance continued with a precision that disturbed the Alliance observers. These were supposed to be garden world dwellers dying in large numbers while learning hard lessons about real combat. Instead, they were adapting to conditions that killed experienced warriors and using the hostile environment as a tactical advantage. Lieutenant Kelly established communication with Orbital Command from inside an active lava tube that should have been impossible to survive in advanced teams in position. Sir, enemy fortifications are exactly where intelligence indicated. We are ready to begin the main assault. Commander Rexus stared at the tactical display showing human forces positioned throughout the volcanic landscape in places that his own troops would need heavy environmental gear to reach. The humans had not only survived their role as expendable scouts, but had somehow advantageous positions that the Alliance assault plan had deemed impossible. Begin the bombardment, Rexus ordered, hoping to salvage the operation. Clear the way for our main force. Sir, requesting you hold fire, came Lieutenant Kelly's voice from the surface. We have enemy positions surrounded and are beginning final assault. Human forces are sufficient to complete the objective. Before Alliance Command could respond, the tactical display erupted with activity as human forces launched a coordinated attack on hegemony positions from multiple directions simultaneously. The enemy fortress that was supposed to require a massive Alliance assault to Crack was being systematically dismantled by troops that were meant to die testing its defenses. Captain Sam led the assault on the main bunker. Complex, using improvised explosives made from materials found on the volcanic surface. The hegemony defenders found themselves under attack by opponents who treated their fortress world like a training exercise and showed no signs of being affected by conditions that should have been killing them. Enemy forces are requesting surrender, sir, reported the communications officer. They claim human forces have breached all defensive positions and are threatening to use the volcanic activity against their installation's war chief. Brutus watched the tactical display with growing concern as human forces completed objectives that Alliance planning had estimated would take weeks of siege warfare. The humans were not just surviving impossible conditions. They were using those conditions as weapons against enemies who had built their defenses expecting rational limitations. Sir, human forces report objectives secured. Lieutenant Kelly announced, requesting permission to secure additional targets. In the system, while we are equipped for this environment, General Base appeared on the communication channel looking remarkably fresh for someone who had just fought a battle in conditions that would challenge Alliance veterans. Mission accomplished. Sir, enemy fortress neutralized with minimal casualties. We are ready for our next assignment, Commander. Rexus stared at the human general, trying to process what had just occurred. The humans had not only survived being used as cannon fodder, they had completely eliminated the need for Alliance forces to engage. The operation that was supposed to teach them humility had instead demonstrated capabilities that made the Alliance question their own superiority. What are your casualty figures? General Base Admiral, Thoric asked, hoping for some indication that the humans had paid a price for their success. 14 injured, sir, mostly minor burns from getting too close to active. Lava Flow's base reported. Doc Emma says they will be ready for duty in a few hours. The Alliance command fell silent as they absorbed this information. The humans had taken a fortress world that would have cost Alliance forces thousands of casualties, and their most serious injuries were from what they described as getting too close to molten rock. General Base Commander Rexa said slowly, what kind of training did your people receive for volcanic environment combat? Base smiled, that disturbing human expression. No special training, sir, though. I should mention that several of my troops are actually from Hawaii and they feel right at home here. They're asking if they can bring their families to establish a permanent base. War Chief Brutus felt something cold settle in his stomach as he realized the implications of what he was hearing. These humans were not Garden World weaklings learning hard lessons. They were something else entirely, and the Alliance had just given them military training, advanced weapons, and detailed intelligence on galactic strategic targets. Quest permission to begin survey operations for extended human presence, General Bass continued. This environment has potential for recreational activities, and some of my people think the volcanic activity could be used for geothermal power generation, as the Alliance commanders tried to process the idea of beings who considered active volcanic worlds suitable for family vacations. They began to suspect they had made a terrible mistake in their assessment of human capabilities. The question was how terrible and what else they had gotten wrong about their new allies. 3 months had passed since humans joined the Alliance, and the reports flooding into command headquarters grew more disturbing with each passing day. Commander Rexus found himself reading battle summaries that challenged everything he thought he knew about warfare and survival. Captain Reed's tactical reports described human soldiers establishing permanent outposts on worlds that the Alliance classified as uninhabitable. Lieutenant Mike's engineering unit had built a supply depot on a planet where the atmospheric pressure would crush most beings into pulp, and they reported the gravity as refreshing after their previous assignment. Sir, we have a problem, Admiral Thoric announced as he entered the command chamber, carrying data tablets that seemed to weigh heavily in his forearms. The humans have requested family colonization permits for 17 different worlds in our territory. Commander Rexus looked up from his own troubling reports. Which worlds? All of them, sir. Every world where we have sent human forces for combat operations. They are filing formal requests to bring civilian populations, including children, to establish permanent settlements. War Chief Brutus examined the list with growing alarm, recognizing planets that Alliance forces visited only when absolutely necessary. Neuraxis Prime is on this list. That world has gravity 3 times galactic standard, and the indigenous predators there devoured an entire Korthok battalion last year, according to Lieutenant Ann's report. The predators have been domesticated, Admiral Thoric said in a voice that sounded like he was choking on acid. She describes them as friendly and suitable for children to play with. They have requested permission to import additional human families, specifically to enjoy what they call pet care activities. General Vorak shifted his massive bulk, causing the floor to groan under his weight. This cannot be accurate, intelligence reports from Neuraxis Prime described. Creatures with armored hides and energy projection capabilities that could kill. Korthok warriors in powered armor, Lieutenant in attached video documentation, Sir Admiral de Luge. Thoric activated a holographic display showing human children throwing objects for creatures the size of ground vehicles to retrieve. She calls it fetch, and describes it as a traditional human recreational activity. Commander Rexus watched the display with 3 eyes that refused to believe what they were seeing. The creatures that had killed Alliance elite forces were rolling over on their backs while human younglings rubbed their armored bellies. The predators appeared to be enjoying this treatment and making sounds that could only be described as pleased. What about the other world's war chief Brutus demanded? Surely they cannot have domesticated the environments on 17 different death worlds. Admiral Thoric pulled up another report. Colonel Joe's forces on Grimhold Station have converted the radiation bombardment into what they call a tanning facility. They report improved morale and are requesting beach volleyball equipment to take advantage of the enhanced recreational opportunities. Beach volleyball, General Vorak repeated slowly. On a world where cosmic radiation levels would kill most species in minutes, apparently humans consider radiation exposure beneficial in controlled amounts. Admiral Thoric continued, they have established what they call a spa resort and are advertising rest and relaxation packages for off-duty personnel. Commander Rexus felt his crystalline shell beginning to crack under stress as he processed information that violated his understanding of basic survival. Show me the worst-case scenario. What is happening on the most dangerous assignment we gave them? Admiral Thoric hesitated before accessing the classified files. Vortex Prime, Sir, the world where we sent them to establish a forward observation post in the temporal storm region's vortex. Prime existed in a region where space and time became unstable, creating storms that could age beings to death in seconds, or trap them in temporal loops forever. The Alliance had built automated monitoring stations there, but never risked living personnel for more than brief emergency missions. Major IB's report indicates they have established a permanent research facility. Admiral Thoric said while pulling up the documentation. They describe the temporal effects as fascinating and have requested permission to bring scientific equipment to study what they call time weather patterns. Time weather patterns, War Chief Brutus repeated in the tone of someone whose worldview was collapsing. They are treating temporal storms like atmospheric slint disturbances. The holographic display showed human scientists working in an environment that should have been instantly fatal, taking measurements and collecting samples, while temporal energy cascaded around them like colored lightning. Major Tim appeared in the recording, explaining how his team had learned to predict storm patterns and use them for enhanced research opportunities. Sir, there is more. Admiral Thoric continued reluctantly. They have discovered that controlled exposure to temporal fields has what they call anti-aging benefits. Several human personnel report feeling younger and more energetic after working in the storm zones. Commander Rexus stared at the display showing humans treating one of the most dangerous phenomena in known space like a health spa, while his understanding of the universe crumbled around him. These beings were not just surviving impossible conditions. They were finding benefits in environments that killed everything else. What about normal military operations? General Vorak asked. Desperately, surely they must show some limitations in standard combat situations. Admiral Thoric activated another file showing recent battle reports. Captain Luke's forces engaged a hegemony dreadnought in the asteroid belt last week. The enemy vessel was using the rocky debris for cover and the gravitational anomalies as defensive positions. Standard siege tactics. War Chief Brutus nodded. What was the outcome? The humans boarded the enemy ship. Sir, Admiral Thoric said quietly, in the middle of an asteroid storm. They used the gravitational fluctuations to accelerate their assault pods and treated the debris field like a highway system. Captain Luke reported it as an enjoyable challenge. Commander? Rexes watched tactical recordings of human assault troops, surfing gravitational waves between asteroids, the size of small moons, while enemy fire exploded around them. The humans moved through the cosmic chaos like they belonged there, using forces that would tear apart Alliance vessels as transportation methods. The enemy dreadnought surrendered after 6 hours, Admiral Thoric continued. The hegemony commander requested asylum, claiming his crew refused to fight opponents who used natural disasters as tactical advantages. Sir, we have incoming communication from Admiral Stone, announced the communications officer. He is requesting permission to establish a training facility in the Maelstrom Nebula for what he calls advanced naval exercises. The Maelstrom Nebula was a region where subspace storms made navigation impossible, and energy discharges could vaporize entire fleets. Alliance forces avoided the area completely, as it was considered a natural barrier that marked the edge of civilized space training facility. Commander Rexus asked weakly in the Maelstrom. Admiral Stone appeared on the communication channel, looking remarkably cheerful for someone making an insane request. Yes, sir. My navigators think the storm patterns would provide excellent practice for emergency maneuvers. We have identified several stable zones that would be perfect for fleet exercises. Admiral Stone. War Chief Brutus interrupted. Alliance vessels cannot survive in the Maelstrom. The energy storms there have destroyed entire battle groups. Oh yes, sir. Quite exciting, Admiral Stone agreed. My crews are looking forward to the challenge. We have been getting bored with routine troll duties, and this would provide the kind of stimulating environment that keeps personnel sharp. Commander Rexes disconnected the communication and turned to his fellow Alliance leaders with the expression of someone watching his civilization crumble around him. They are bored with conditions that challenge our elite forces. Sir, we need to discuss the implications, General, Borak said in a voice that had lost its usual confidence. If humans consider our most dangerous environments to be recreational opportunities, then what kind of world produced them? More importantly, Admiral Thoric added, what does this mean for our alliance with them? Are we partners, or are we the ones being managed? War Chief Brutus studied the accumulated reports with growing unease. Look at the pattern. Every assignment we give them results in them requesting to bring more humans. They are not just completing missions, they are colonizing our territory with our permission. Commander Rexus realized the terrifying truth that had been building in the evidence for months. We thought we were recruiting cannon fodder, but we have given apex predators detailed intelligence on every strategic position in Alliance space. They know our capabilities, our limitations, and our territorial boundaries better than we do, sir. Incoming priority message from Earth. The communications officer announced Human Command is requesting a conference to discuss expansion of human participation in Alliance operations. As the 3 Alliance leaders contemplated the implications of meeting with representatives of whatever kind of world could produce beings like the ones they had been observing, they began to understand that their invitation to humanity might have been the last independent decision they would ever make. The investigation into Earth's true nature began when Dr. Emma mentioned during a casual conversation that she missed the hurricane season back home and was looking forward to what she called Shark Week. Intelligence Officer Zoran of the Vorthane spent 3 sleepless days trying to understand why any rational being would anticipate either of these events with pleasure. Hurricane season suggests regular atmospheric catastrophes, Zoran reported to Commander Rexus, while his acidic blood dripped nervously onto the floor, yet Dr. Emma described it as something enjoyable that she missed while deployed away from Earth. War Chief Brutus examined the linguistic analysis data with growing concern. Shark Week appears to refer to a period when aquatic predators are more active, which most species would consider a time for extreme caution, yet human personnel discuss it as a recreational opportunity. Commander Rexes authorized a covert intelligence probe to Earth despite the risk of violating the new Alliance treaty. The information they needed about human origins was worth the potential diplomatic incident that would result if they were discovered spying on their new partners. Probe's initial transmission made intelligence. Officer Zoran requests medical assistance for what his species considered a stress reaction. Sir, the atmospheric readings from Earth are impossible. This cannot be correct. What did you find, General? Vorak demanded, while reviewing the preliminary data. The planet shows as habitable in our original scans. That is the problem, sir, Zoran replied, while his voice took on the liquid quality that indicated extreme distress. It is habitable, but it should not be. The atmospheric composition includes oxygen at levels that would be toxic to most species. The pressure variations indicate regular storms with wind speeds that would level our cities. Admiral Thorik pulled up the detailed environmental data and immediately understood why Zoran was experiencing psychological stress. These readings show a world that actively tries to kill its inhabitants. Look at the seismic activity patterns. Regular earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are considered normal geological events. The biological scan results are even worse, Zoran continued. The planet hosts creatures that exist solely to kill other creatures. The humans share their world with predators that have no purpose except hunting and consuming living beings. Commander Rexus studied the probe data with growing horror as the true nature of Earth revealed itself. This was not a garden world that had produced weak inhabitants, but a testing ground that had been perfecting methods of elimination for billions of years. The humans were not soft beings from a paradise, but survivors of a planetary elimination system. Show me the worst examples, Rexus ordered. I need to understand what kind of environment could produce beings like the ones we have observed. Zoran activated the biological database with obvious reluctance. The oceans contain creatures called sharks that are essentially mobile weapons designed for killing. Their only function is to hunt and consume other life forms they have survived unchanged for hundreds of millions of years because their design is already perfect for destruction. War Chief Brutus watched video footage of sharks moving through Earth's waters like living torpedoes. And humans swim with these creatures voluntarily, yes. Sir Zoran confirmed. They call it recreation. They also engage in activities called surfing, where they deliberately enter the hunting territories of these predators during feeding times for what they describe as fun. General Vorak examined additional biological data. What about terrestrial predators? Surely the land-based life forms are less threatening. Actually, sir, they are worse, Zoran replied while pulling up footage of African wildlife creatures called lions that hunt in coordinated groups, animals called bears that can crush Alliance armor with their natural strength, and something called hippopotamus that kills more humans annually than any other large animal. Yet humans protect these creatures in preservation areas, Commander. Rexus watched video of a hippopotamus moving through water with speed that would challenge Alliance vehicles. They preserve creatures that kill them. Why would they maintain dangerous predators instead of eliminating them according to human cultural data, sir? They consider these creatures beautiful and important for what they call ecosystem balance, Zoran explained. They voluntarily fund the preservation of species that pose direct threats to human survival. Admiral Thorik discovered even more disturbing information in the geological data. The planetary surface is unstable, sir. Earth experiences regular catastrophic events that reshape entire continents, yet humans build permanent settlements directly in the danger zones. The probes recordings showed human cities built on tectonic fault lines where earthquakes were guaranteed to occur. Human settlements along coastlines where massive storms regularly destroyed everything. Human communities at the base of active volcanoes that could erupt without warning. They call these locations desirable real estate. Zoran reported property values are higher in areas with greater environmental risks because humans find the danger appealing rather than threatening. War Chief Brutus studied atmospheric data showing storm systems with energy outputs that could power Alliance battle fleets. These hurricanes that Dr. Emma mentioned, they are essentially weaponized weather systems. How do humans survive direct exposure? They do not always survive, sir, Zoran replied. Human historical records show millions of casualties from natural disasters, yet they continue to live in affected areas and describe severe storms as exciting natural phenomena worth experiencing, Commander. Rexus realized the scope of the Alliance's miscalculation as the probe data revealed a world that made their own Deathworld. Origins seemed tame by comparison. This planet has been conducting warfare against its own inhabitants for billions of years, and humans are the species that won. General Vorak examined human recreational activities with growing alarm. They deliberately expose themselves to dangerous conditions for entertainment. Look at this data on something called extreme sports. They jump from aircraft without propulsion systems, climb vertical rock faces without safety equipment and race vehicles at speeds that would be fatal in collision events. The psychological profiles make no sense, Admiral Thoric added. Humans seek out dangerous situations when safer alternatives exist. They appear to require regular exposure to life-threatening conditions to maintain psychological stability. Intelligence Officer Zoran pulled up the most disturbing data, sir. There is something else. Human children are exposed to these conditions from birth. The younger humans play games that simulate hunting and combat. They are trained to handle dangerous tools and navigate hazardous environments as part of normal development, Commander. Rexus watched footage of human children swimming in waters containing predators, climbing structures that could collapse at any moment, and engaging in competitive activities that would be considered military training exercises by Alliance standards. The education system is designed to prepare them for planetary warfare. War Chief Brutus observed, they are conditioning their young to treat danger as normal and safety as boring. Sir, we need to discuss the implications, General Vorak said. While reviewing the complete probe data, we invited these beings to join our alliance, believing they were weak paradise dwellers. Instead, we have recruited a species that evolved on a Class 12 death world that makes our own origins look comfortable. Admiral Thoric pulled up the classification system that rated planetary habitability on a scale from Class 1 garden worlds to Class 10 extreme death worlds. Sir, Earth rates is Class 12. The classification system does not go higher because we never believed such worlds could support intelligent life. Commander Rexus felt his understanding of the universe collapse as he realized what the Alliance had done. We did not recruit auxiliaries. We invited apex predators to study our military capabilities, our territorial boundaries, and our defensive limitations. We gave them detailed intelligence on every strategic target in known space. Sir, incoming communication from Earth Command. Announced the communications officer. They are requesting a meeting to discuss expanded human participation in Alliance operations and territorial administration. As the three Alliance leaders contemplated the terrifying prospect of negotiating with representatives from a world that existed beyond their classification system, they began to understand that their civilization had just received a polite invitation to surrender, and they had been too ignorant to recognize it until now. The final revelation came when the Hegemony Empire deployed their ultimate weapon in a desperate attempt to stop the Alliance's advance. 3 strategic worlds fell simultaneously to a biological agent that the Hegemony had spent decades perfecting. As their final solution to the Deathworld problem, Commander Rexus received the emergency alerts while studying intelligence reports from Earth, and the timing seemed like cruel cosmic irony. The weapon was designed to accelerate evolutionary pressure until entire ecosystems collapsed under the weight of their own survival mechanisms, turning a planet's evolutionary advantages into death traps. Korthak 7 is experiencing complete biological breakdown, Admiral Thoric reported while his voice carried the liquid sound of acid eating through metal. The crystalline forests that our people used for shelter are now growing at rates that crush everything beneath them. Our evacuation ships report total loss of surface installations. War Chief Brutus monitored the disaster on Grimmick Prime, where his own people were fleeing from their underground cities as the planet's geology became unstable. The weapon is turning our natural adaptations against us, sir. The caves that protected us for millions of years are now collapsing because the support structures are evolving faster than physics allows. General Vorak watched data streams from Vorthani Station, where the acidic swamps that had birthed his species were becoming too corrosive for even their adapted biology to survive. It appears the Hegemony has found a way to weaponize evolution itself. They have turned our homeworlds into suicide machines, Commander. Rexus studied the tactical situation with growing despair as evacuation fleets reported massive casualties. The Alliance's greatest strength had become their fatal weakness in the face of a weapon that used their own evolutionary advantages to destroy them. Incoming communication from General Base announced the Communications Officer. Human forces are requesting permission to investigate the affected worlds. Absolutely not, Admiral Thoric replied immediately. The biological agent is specifically designed to kill Deathworld species. No form of life can Survive what the hegemony has unleashed. Those worlds are lost, General. Base appeared on the communication channel with his usual unsettling smile. Respectfully, sir, my teams would like to take a look. The biological readings seem interesting, and we have some ideas about containment. War Chief Brutus leaned forward with concern. General, the weapon turns evolutionary advantages into evolutionary traps. Your species will be just as vulnerable as ours. This is not a battlefield, this is a biological extinction event. Understood, Sir, Base replied. But my science teams think they can work with it. Dr. Emma is particularly excited about the cellular acceleration data. We would like permission to land research teams on all 3 affected worlds, Commander. Rexus stared at the human general with the growing realization that these beings had just volunteered to visit worlds that were actively trying to kill everything on their surface. General Bass, the biological agent, does not simply kill, it forces rapid evolution that makes survival impossible. Yes, sir, we read the reports, Base agreed. Sounds like our kind of challenge. We have some experience with hostile evolutionary pressure. Dr. Emma thinks she can reverse engineer the process and maybe improve on it. Admiral Thoric watched in horror as human research vessels launched toward worlds that Alliance forces were evacuating at maximum speed. They cannot be serious. No species can survive deliberate evolutionary warfare. Dr. Emma's voice came through the communication system from inside one of the research ships. Actually, Admiral, this is fascinating stuff. The biological agent appears to be a modified version of something we deal with regularly back home. We call it cancer, but this version is much more sophisticated. Cancer, General Vorak repeated. Slowly, you have a name for this type of biological weapon. Oh yes, sir, Dr. Emma replied cheerfully. Uncontrolled cellular growth that kills the host organism. It is quite common on Earth. Most humans will experience some form of it during their lifetimes. We have developed treatments that work pretty well. Commander Rexus felt his worldview collapse completely as he processed the information that humans casually lived with biological warfare agents that the hegemony considered their ultimate weapon. Dr. Emma, are you saying that humans regularly survive exposure to weaponized evolution? In a manner of speaking, Sir, Dr. Emma answered, though we just call it getting older. Every human deals with cellular breakdown and genetic damage accumulation as a normal part of life. Our bodies are constantly fighting off evolutionary pressure that would kill us if we did not have natural defenses. Captain Reed's voice joined the communication from another research vessel. We have teams landing on all 3 worlds now. Initial readings suggest the biological agent is actually less aggressive than some of the environmental challenges we face during Earth. Summer War Chief Brutus asked weakly. Yes, sir, Reed replied. High radiation exposure from solar activity, extreme temperatures that stress biological systems, and increased activity from various predators and parasites. Most humans consider it recreational season. The tactical display showed human teams working on planetary surfaces that Alliance species were fleeing in terror. Dr. Emma's researchers collected samples of the biological agent while walking through environments where evolution had become weaponized. We have isolated the pathogen, Dr. Emma reported, after 6 hours of surface operations. It is actually quite elegant, though primitive, compared to some of the biological challenges we work with regularly. We should have countermeasures ready within a day or 2, Admiral. Thoric watched readings from the affected worlds that showed human teams not only surviving, but treating the biological warfare as an interesting research project. How is this possible? The agent was designed to kill any form of evolved life. Well, Sir, Dr. Emma explained, the agent assumes that rapid evolution is necessarily fatal. But humans deal with rapid cellular change constantly. We call it exercise, healing, growth, and adaptation. Our bodies are designed to handle evolutionary pressure as a normal function, Commander. Rexus realized the terrifying truth as human medical teams began treating Alliance refugees with medicines that neutralize the hegemony's ultimate weapon. You are not just immune to biological warfare. You're using it as raw material for medical research. Actually, Sir, Captain Reed interjected, my engineering teams think we can reverse the process and use the delivery system to accelerate beneficial evolution. We could potentially enhance Alliance species natural abilities using modified versions of the weapon. General Bass appeared on screen from the surface of Korthax 7, where he was standing in an environment that had killed thousands of Alliance soldiers. And ours, sir, we would like permission to establish permanent research facilities on these worlds. The biological activity here provides excellent opportunities for advanced medical development. War Chief Brutus stared at the display showing humans treating evolutionary warfare as a research opportunity. General Bass, that planet was designed to kill everything that evolved there. Yes, Sir Bass agreed. Perfect, controlled environment for testing human adaptability. My troops are asking if they can bring their families here for extended research duty. The kids would love the educational opportunities. As Alliance commanders watched human children playing in environments that had been weaponized to kill Deathworld species, they finally understood the complete scope of their mistake. They had not recruited auxiliaries or even allies. They had invited something that existed beyond their understanding of survival itself, Sir Admiral Thoric said in a voice that sounded like his species had lost the will to live. Incoming communication from Earth's command. They are requesting a formal meeting to discuss what they call optimization of Alliance territorial management and resource allocation. Commander Rexus looked at his fellow Alliance leaders with the expression of beings who had just realized they were no longer the apex predators in their own territory. We thought we were giving humans military training and advanced technology. We were actually providing the galaxy's ultimate survivors with detailed intelligence on every weakness in known space. The communication channel activated, showing Admiral Stone from Earth Command with that characteristic human smile. Greetings, Alliance leadership. We have completed our preliminary assessment of your operational capabilities and territorial assets. We would like to discuss some improvements we can implement to optimize your defensive and resource management systems. As the three Alliance species contemplated the polite invitation to surrender their independence to beings who treated biological warfare as recreational science projects, they understood that their fatal mistake had not been underestimating human strength, but failing to recognize that humans represented something evolution had never attempted before, a species that had learned to make survival itself obsolete. The Deathworld Alliance had invited Earth's children to inherit the galaxy, and there was no force in known space capable of stopping what they had accidentally set in motion.